We do have a couple of families joining us tonight, so I just wanted to thank families for signing on and joining us for our Parent University Parents Night Out, presented by the Healthy Communities at Providence, in the city of Providence. I'm just, before we get started, going to go over some of the norms that we typically go over. So this webinar is going to be simultaneously presented in Spanish. For families that want to listen to this presentation in Spanish, I encourage you to please scroll down to the bottom of your screen and find the icon of the globe. Once you click on the icon of the globe, you're going to go ahead and select Spanish from the list of languages, and you'll be able to hear this presentation in Spanish. I'm going to say that in Spanish just in case anybody wants to switch over now. So, esta reunión va a ser presentado en español. Si familias que están en línea ahora mismo y quieren escuchar esta presentación en español, si miran por abajo de la pantalla, hay un icono de un globo. Si le da ese icono, puede seleccionar el lenguaje de español para escuchar esta presentación en español. So just to go over a couple of norms, the presentation is in webinar format, which means that participants aren't going to be able to see each other. They'll only be able to see presenters. So that's Tanya, Carissa, my colleague, Yuahang, and then we also have Louis and Pedro, who are going to be interpreting for tonight on this panel. We're going to try to answer as many questions as possible towards the end of this meeting. So if you have a question that comes up during the presentation and you want to submit that, please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen to submit those questions. If you prefer to ask your question live, towards the end, we're going to dedicate some time. And if you raise your hand using the raise hand icon, we'll unmute you, either you or myself, and you can then unmute. We'll allow you the ability to talk. You unmute your mic and say your question out loud, and we'll answer it that way. Everybody's microphones, aside from the panelists, will be muted. The session is recorded and will be posted to our website at providenceschools.org. The website actually is YouTube, the channel of YouTube, which can be found on providenceschools.org, going to our social media page. I've mentioned some icons before, just so that you're aware. The Q&A icon appears like the one that's here in red. You can write your questions in there, and we'll, like I said, hold some time towards the end of the meeting to answer those questions, or raise your hand, which appears like what you see on the screen here. I did want to mention that the chat feature will not be available during this webinar. If we have any links that we wanted to share with you, you will be able to read the chat, but you won't be able to use it to communicate with the panelists as a participant of this webinar. So just wanted to make you aware of that. And then we're going to try our best to answer as many questions as possible in a lot of time towards the end of this meeting. Before leaving tonight, after the presentation, both Carissa and Tanya will be signing off, and we will continue the webinar with feedback. So if you fill out the feedback, you can win one of 3 items. First being a $10 Gap gift card. Second, a family 4-pack to Roger Williams Park Zoo. The temperature is getting great for families to go out and head to the zoo. So this is a great prize. And then a $10 Scrubber Dub car wash gift card. So these are the 3 items that we'll be raffling off in exchange for your feedback of the survey afterwards. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carissa and Tanya from the Healthy Communities Office for Providence. Let me just stop sharing real quick.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar. I am Tanya Gilbert. I am the program manager for the Partnership for Success grant, and Carissa Lombardi is the MET intern that I've had for this year. She's phenomenal, and she is going to be primarily presenting this evening. But I will start off with the next slide, please. So if you would please take a moment to complete this pre-survey. It is optional, but it also is demographic in nature. And so it helps us to know how to present a better presentation and to whom we are presenting to. So let's see, I have put it in the chat. So let me, you can either scan the QR code or you can click on this link. The QR code will bring you to a series of questions that you should complete. Choose one of the answers that actually pertains to you. And then when you get to answers 10, they're going to ask you a little bit about the children in your household. And 11 and 12 are simply to find out what you know prior to us presenting. So we'll give you a few moments to fill that pre-survey out. If you have completed that survey, would you give us some thumbs up?
Tanya, we have someone with their hand up, but I'm not sure if it's because they want clarifying to clarify the question. Is it okay to allow to talk?
Yes, please.
Wanda tenía una pregunta. Wanda, did you have a question? You can
Sí.
unmute yourself.
¿Qué?
¿Cuál es?
¿Cómo puedo entrar? Porque estoy tratando, no sé cómo hacerlo para llenar la encuesta.
Oh, ella dice que en el chat ella dejó un enlace que se puede dar para poder entrar a la encuesta.
Ok, perfecto. Gracias, mi amor.
De nada. She was just, she wasn't sure about how to access the survey. I told her that you had dropped the link in the chat.
Okay, excellent. So we'll give her a few more moments and then we will continue. Okay, I think that we have enough time to go on to the next slide, please.
So this presentation is going to have a few surveys throughout, which will ask your opinions about different pieces of the presentation. Just so you know, all of the answers that you record for this survey are going to be completely anonymous. And yeah, so no one will be able to tell your answer based on what you submit.
Next slide.
I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Okay.
So, Jonathan, could you please share with them the poll question 1? So please take a moment to choose one of these answers and let us know when you have completed that poll. Jonathan, are you able to see when the poll is completed?
I am. I did want to go ahead and audibly say the question just because I want it to be translated for our Spanish speaking families.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
So the question is, what made you decide to attend today? Excuse me, was it because, select all that apply. Multiple choice, one is you have concerns about current behavior. Question two, you have concerns about future behavior. Three, you want to learn more about the topic. And four, you want to learn conversational skills to use with your children on a variety of topics.
Thank you, Tanya. We got about 50% of the responses, so we're still waiting for a couple more to come in. So we're just waiting on one more reply. And then I can go ahead and end the poll. So for parents that are just logging on, we're just answering poll number one for Parents Night Out. What made you decide to attend today? You have four options available. You can select as many that apply. First one, you have concerns about current behavior. Second, you have concerns about future behavior. Third, you want to learn more about the topic. And lastly, you want to learn conversational skills to use with your children on a variety of topics. Tanya, we had another person log in, so I don't know if you wanted to, whenever you want to call it, you can let me know, because I'm still waiting for 2 replies.
Why don't we go ahead and go to our next slide?
So I'll be kind of taking over from now on, but just to familiarize everyone with what we're dealing with today, we have some of the facts about underage substance use listed above. One that's specifically important is the fact that most Rhode Island teenagers who were exposed to substances under the age of 18, the reason for getting that, the number one reason that was given was that a friend gave it to them for free. Another important fact to keep in mind is that for each additional year that someone under the age of 21 begins to drink, the greater the odds that they will develop alcohol dependence at some point in their life. In addition to that, other research has found that a huge correlation between addiction in adulthood and substance use underage. And that finds that 90% of Americans who meet clinical criteria for addiction were using substances before the age of 18. So that's really important to keep in mind. So here we have some facts about substance use and alcohol use. In Rhode Island specifically, liquor store sales increased dramatically over the pandemic, almost 30%. And also in Rhode Island, We are most likely going to be legalizing marijuana by 2022. And specifically teens might think that that's kind of a free-for-all, but we found in other states that it is just as risky legally to be using substances as it is if there wasn't legal guidelines, because still when people are using it underage, it's still just as much illegal, and it's just as much illegal if you're obtaining marijuana through illegal channels. So now we have another poll, and we have the results from poll number 1. But the next poll that we have just says, have you noticed have you noticed any changes in your child's or children's attitude and or behavior regarding underage substance use since the pandemic began? And we'll give you guys just a minute to answer that, because the results from the last one showed up.
Yes. So our last one, it looked like most of you just wanted to know how to have a conversation with your youth about some tough subjects. And so this one, again, as Krista said, have you noticed any changes in your child's or children's attitude and or behavior regarding underage substance use since the pandemic began? You will choose one answer. The first is yes, they seem more interested. The second, yes, they seem less interested. The third, no, haven't noticed any changes. And the last is not sure. We'll give you 60 seconds to place your answers, and then we'll let you know what the feedback is from poll 1 and poll 2. Okay, Jonathan, could you please close poll 2? And when you have a moment, could we go back and look at the percentages for the answers on poll 1? So the majority of you, it looks like all of you want to learn more about how you can communicate with your children about tough subjects. And there is a tie between you have concerns about future behavior and you want to learn more about the topic at 67%. And 33% of you are concerned about current behavior. And how are we doing on getting those answers in, Jonathan?
So we have 4 out of 6 that have replied to poll number 2. And the poll has ended, so I'm going to go ahead and share results if you're okay with that.
Sure. All right, so, wow. So 100% of you have not noticed any changes since the pandemic started. So we hope that that is because our youth are not using these substances as they're underage. But we will see as we go a little bit further. Thank you.
Okay, so while it's never too late to be having these tough conversations with your children about alcohol and other drugs, it's also never too early to start these conversations. The best time to talk with your child about alcohol and substance use is before they're actually ever exposed to it. If you approach these conversations directly and with honesty, your child is much more likely to respect your rules and advice about alcohol and other drug use. Also, lots of little talks as opposed to one big talk. Keep the lines of communication open and are proven to work much more effectively than having one big, scary talk about it. And treating your children like a partner in these situations, in these conversations, and trying to imagine how they feel and have empathy towards their feelings will really help them hear what you have to say as well. As a child to a mom who did this, I think I have sort of anecdotal evidence that all of these facts do work. So we'll go on to the next slide. And although it might not seem like it, research shows that children really do listen to what their parents have to say about alcohol and other drug use. As you can see, over 80% or approximately 80%. So this next slide, we have another poll for you. So how prepared do you feel to talk with your child about underage drinking and other drug use? So we'll pull up that poll. And remember, these answers are completely anonymous.
So again, the question is, how prepared do you feel to talk with your child about underage drinking and other drug use? You're going to choose one answer. The first answer, you're very prepared. The second answer, you're somewhat prepared. The third answer, you're somewhat unprepared. And the last answer, not at all prepared. Please vote now and we will give you 60 seconds.
We actually had everybody submit a response, so I just ended the poll.
Excellent. Wow, can we see the results, please, Jonathan?
Yep, I'm sharing that right now.
Excellent. Wow, so we have that 60% of you are very prepared to talk with your children about underage drinking and other drug use. And we have a tie between somewhat prepared and somewhat unprepared at 20%. And no one is completely unprepared. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Jonathan.
All right, so now we're just going to go over some of the conversation goals. Research suggests that one of the most important factors in a healthy child development is a strong and open relationship with the parent. It's really important to start talking with your children about substance use before they're exposed to it, as early as 9 years old. And it's important to keep in mind that though this information is important and mature, and you might be a little scared to talk with them, there is this information can be approached at an age appropriate level as early as 9 years old. So use these 5 conversation goals to help you get started, but remember to keep it low key. You don't have to get everything across in one talk. So plan to check in often and quick chats to keep along the lines of communication open. So conversation goal number 1 is to show disapprove of underage drinking and drug use. Over 80% of young people say that their parents have an impact on their decision on whether to drink, like we went over in the last slide. So don't assume that they know how you feel about drinking and drugs. Send a clear and strong message that you disapprove of underage drinking and other drug use. Conversation goal number 2. Young people are more likely to listen when they know that you're on their side. Remind your children why you don't want them to be using substances, and it's because you want them to be happy and safe. The conversation will go a lot better if you're open and show your concern for their well-being. Number 3, you want your child to make informed decision about alcohol and other drugs with reliable information about the risks and dangers. You don't want them to learn about alcohol and drugs from bad information sources. So make sure they know that you are a trustworthy source of information. Conversation goal number 4, young people are more likely to drink alcohol and use other drugs if they think no one will notice. Show that you're aware of what your child is up to, but do this in a subtle way and try not to pry. If you ask about friends and plans because you care, not just because you are judging, they are much more likely to speak openly with you. And goal number 5, even if you don't think your children want to drink alcohol or try drugs, pressure from their friends can make it hard for them to say no. Having a plan to avoid underage drinking and other drugs with your children can help them make better choices. Talk with your children about what they would do if faced with the decision about whether or not to drink alcohol or try drugs. Practice saying no thanks with them in a safe environment and keep it low key. On this slide, we're just gonna kind of skip it because we go over a lot of this information later. But there's lots of resources that can add on to what we're saying here today. The Talk They Hear You campaign has many other resources that you can access, and we'll go over those a little bit later. So preparing to answer your child's tough questions. One of them might be, why are alcohol and other drugs bad for me? And rather than scaring your children, telling them that alcohol and other drugs are bad for their growing brain and can make them sick. Another question you might get involves something that's a little bit, it's not as direct as the first one, but if they get invited to a party and ask if they can go, it's really important to remind your children of the rules about alcohol and other drugs and the behavior that you'd expect about that. Other questions, what if my friends ask me to do drugs or drink? And helping your child prepare to say no to peer pressure in that situation is one of the most important things that you can do as a parent. So just having those sort of role plays where you're rehearsing this response from your child, it might seem sort of unnatural because it is an unnatural interaction, but it's important to get that going in their mind so that they have that prepared so that they don't just default to a yes when approached with this situation. Another question you might get asked is, did you drink or use drugs when you were a kid? And make sure to emphasize that we know now even more about the risks of alcohol and drugs than we did to older people who might have drank or used them. But it's important to stay honest in these conversations and let them know the dangers of doing it, even if you were participating in it as a kid, and why you don't want them to be doing it. So this just goes over some frequent conversations you can have with your child about alcohol and other drugs to keep the lines of communication open, and how you would talk to your 9-year-old versus your 15-year-old versus your 20-year-old about these issues. So here's another slide detailing the Talk They Hear You campaign. This is a national media campaign, and it provides parents and caregivers tools and resources to have these conversations with your children. This is through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, and it was launched in 2015. The main goals of this campaign are to help parents be informed, be prepared, and take action. So this is a video that we have prepared. And this video just goes over, is just part of the Talk They Hear You campaign. And I don't believe we have time to watch it right now, but
Well, Jonathan, do you think that it's 60 seconds long? Do you think we have time for that, or should we skip it?
I think you should be able to have some time for that. I'm just concerned, when you shared screen, did you select share audio at the bottom?
I am not sure.
So if you want to stop sharing screen and then reshare it. Oh no, yes, you did.
Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Let me replay this from the beginning.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind. Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there all your life. When you need me, I'll be by your side. By your side. And every day is a different day. Everything is a different thing. Things can never ever be the same. Don't be scared of the world. I'll be here to stay. By your side. Even when your heart ain't listening, or your mind takes you a different way. Towards a different path. All you gotta do is sit and ask. When you need me, I'll be by your side.
When the adults in a child's life talk early and often about the dangers of underage drinking, the message gets stronger every time.
I'll be by your side.
Talk. They hear you.
So the By Your Side PSA shows the important roles that parents play throughout their child's life, from their first day of school to their very last and beyond. Open and honest communication with your child about alcohol and drug use can have a positive impact on their decision making. And I know that had a positive impact on me for my decision making. Knowing that my mom was always going to be there in situations shown in there where you might be surrounded by alcohol, but knowing the information and the facts that persuade a child not to engage in that sort of behavior is really important to have that communication, so they know that even if they are exposed to it, they don't have to participate, and they have someone on their side who will help in that situation.
I'll be here.
I'll try and show it again. Okay, so now we have another poll, and Tanya will go over that.
So this is our fourth poll, and we have one other poll. This one says, based on what you have seen so far, do you think you will use the Talk They Hear You website for help with conversations about underage drinking and other drug use with your children? You're going to choose one answer. So yes, you do think you will choose the website. No, you don't think you will use the website. And not sure. And Jonathan, let us know when that poll is closed so we can share the results.
And these websites have fact sheets on them that can be used for you, like how to tell if your child is drinking, and also fact sheets to give to your children. Also brochures and infographics with in-depth information about alcohol, drugs, marijuana, and opioids. And also more print, TV, and radio PSAs that show everyday opportunities to talk with your children about alcohol and other drugs.
So we got 5 of 6 responses so far, so just so you're aware.
There's 5 of 6 responses.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and close that poll. So far, all of you, 100%, are sure that you will use the website for help. It's got great resources. I think you'll really enjoy it. And Carissa's going to share a little bit more about what you will see on that website.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to see that you all are just as excited to be using these resources. Okay, so one of the newest resources that we have is an app, the Talk They Hear You mobile app, and that goes beyond virtual practice sessions to equip parents with the skills and tools they need to confidently have conversations about alcohol and drugs with their children. The mobile app is free and can be downloaded on Androids, iPhones, and Windows devices. So it's super accessible. And yeah, so this app has practice conversations and scenarios where you can share starters, goals, participation, or possible reactions, and closers, and other helpful information like statistics on the prevalence of underage drinking and other drug use. The scenarios begin with PSAs from the Talk They Hear You campaign, and it shows parents how talking with their children about alcohol and other drugs based on one of the 5 campaign goals that we discussed. This scenario is then broken down to help you understand the plan for conversations of your own. So it can also be used by parents and adolescents. Yeah, to learn more and put yourself in the situations to think about how you would handle it and how your child might handle it. You can also earn badges for completing these practice scenarios, for having actual conversations. And at the end of each scenario, you can record your own practice conversation and take a self-assessment. Yeah, so after exploring the app's practice scenarios and resource tabs, you can practice each conversation goal. And a really cool recording feature allows you to record practice conversations and play it back to hear how you would sound to your child. The self-assessment lets you rate yourself on how well you achieved the conversation goal. And from the practice screen, you can also add reminders to your digital calendar to have the conversations with your child. So here is a short video on the features of the Talk They Hear You mobile app, as well as the link to download that app. And I don't think the link to the video is working on the PowerPoint. So Tanya, I think, is just going to drop the link to the app.
Yes, and while I'm doing that, I would like to share with you all that the resources are in multiple languages, specifically Spanish. Not all of them are in Spanish, are available currently in Spanish, but SAMHSA does plan to make it available to everyone in Spanish. Let me drop that in the chat for you.
Yeah, so if you're interested, that link will take you right to the App Store, and you can just download it from there. And there they'll have more resources, like I mentioned, the fact sheets, different brochures, infographics that you can use to educate yourself and educate your child. Okay, so I just wanted to give you all a second to maybe click on that link if you were interested. But now I would love to open it up for some questions for both me and Tanya. If you have any questions that are specifically for youth, you can direct them right towards me. And you can do that by using the Q&A feature on Zoom. You can just drop it in the Q&A box. That should be at the bottom of your screen.
And if you'd like to ask your question out loud, please remember, just click the raise hand feature, and either you or myself will go ahead and unmute you so you're able to ask your question out loud. Did you guys do the last poll? I'm just curious because I think I had one more.
Yeah, we have a poll that's coming right after this.
Oh, okay.
If we
okay.
don't have question and answers, questions, we can go ahead and share that last poll, and then I will explain the last link that I dropped in.
Okay.
Carissa, why don't you go ahead and go to the next slide, and if they have questions, they can still drop them in, and we'll be glad to answer them.
Great. Okay. So here's the last poll. How likely are you to download and use the app?
Again, you will choose one. And the first one is likely to download and use. The second is likely to download and not use. The third is not likely to download or use. And the fourth is not sure. And Jonathan, let us know when we have all the polls, please, and share the results. Thank you.
So we're a minute into the poll. We have 5 of 6 responses.
Great.
Go ahead and close it, I think. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so it looks like you all are likely to download and use the app. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad it's consistent with what you said earlier. Next slide, Carissa.
So yeah, we just want to thank you again for coming tonight. If you have any other questions, or if you're interested in receiving campaign updates, you can go to people at SAMHSA, which is, again, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. They have a website, they have an email that you can contact. But if you have any questions that might be specific to Rhode Island law or Rhode Island statistics, you can feel free to email Tanya at tgilbert@providenceri.gov. Yeah, and you can also email me. My email isn't up there, but I can drop it in the chat as well if you or if you want to share this with your child, they can feel free to reach out to me. It's the same thing as Tanya's.
I just wanted to share with everyone that we have begun the United Youth Subcommittee. It is open to youth that are ages 12 and up to the age of 20. If you would like your youth to participate, or if your youth is interested, please have them contact me. We currently have 12 that are serving on this youth subcommittee that just started last year around this time, and we're looking to continue this. And then Carissa, would you please go to the next slide?
Yes. Okay.
So this is our final slide. This is actually the same questions as the pre-survey. We ask that you complete this for us. It's the post-survey. We want to see if there are any changes in your answers, if you have learned anything today during this presentation. So you can access this post-survey by either turning on your camera on your cell phone and scanning the QR code, and it will bring you to the survey, or you can use this link, and I will be happy to drop this in the chat for everyone. And if you'll just complete it for us, we would greatly appreciate that. So let's see. Okay. Are there any questions that anyone has for us? I will share with you that the United Youth Subcommittee, we would love to come to your child's school and do a presentation to the youth. We're looking to do some town hall meetings at some of our recreational centers. We are available to come talk to parent-teacher associations, We really want to get the word out. You will see more and hear more of us on TV. We were on the road show in December of last year. We ran commercials on WPRI 12. We're running commercials on WJAR 12, and you'll see us on buses, on billboards. So we just want to get the word out to parents, youth, and to alcohol and tobacco retailers that underage use of substances is harmful to them. And any way we can do that, and feel free to contact me so that we can share that information with you.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a part of the United Youth Subcommittee, and it's been a really, really awesome experience. Yeah, we meet monthly, we have delicious food, we learn all the facts, and then we're prepared to both use those facts when we might be encountered in situations like we discussed earlier, but we also get to use those facts and create projects that are related to that and that really do help the rest of the community out with what we're trying to get done here, which is lessen the harm of alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, and other substances in Rhode Island. So we would love to see other youth, their new youth, as the end of the school year comes. Yeah, we're going to be having a really exciting event coming up later this month. We're going to be doing like big art class. So if you're interested, send an email to Tanya or me or both of us. We would love, love, love to see your youth there and make some new friends.
Again, if you guys have any like promotional material that you wanted us to share with them, feel free to contact the face office. We'll make sure that anybody that participated tonight, or anyone in general, is getting this information as well, because it's definitely important to get this information out in our communities. And I just wanted to thank you again for Tanya and Carissa for coming out and presenting to our PPSD families on this important topic. And we look forward to working with you in the future and any other parent universities and workshops that you might be offering in the schools. And with that, I just wanted to ask if you had any, aside from what you just said, any closing remarks that you wanted to say before we move on to the feedback portion for parent university.
No, thank you
No.
so much for having us today. We really do appreciate it. And thank you for allowing us to co-present part of what we do with the United Youth Subcommittee is make sure that we provide leadership opportunities for our youth. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all so much. I really enjoyed getting to speak with you guys today. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear that you all are taking this information and you're going to be able to use it yourselves. So yeah, thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.